We have on air Erik Lapointe. He is the Chief Commercial Officer for SingleKey. My name is Carol Mark. I'm a realtor for eXp Realty. What is SingleKey? Well, I was very excited to find out about this product. SingleKey is actually described as a start to finish rental protection. What is that? Well, it actually protects the rental income, which is the rent, any non-payment of rent, property damage, or lease breaks. And the rent guarantee gives homeowners the ultimate peace of payments of 12 months. So it takes on the risks such as loss from rent arrears, legal costs, or property damage. The interesting thing is it's actually backed by Lloyds of London, who is a marine insurance that was started in Edward Lloyd's Coffee House in the UK, which is England. And funnily enough, it was started in 1688, and that is a business that's been around for 335 years ago. One interesting bit of tidbit I found was that they covered the Titanic. Everybody's heard of the Titanic. It sunk. It was supposed to be unsinkable. So hopefully that's a little bit of interesting history. For me, I was so excited to find out about SingleKey because as an agent, but also I had been a landlord for over a number of decades. And reading the news today with all the issues ending up in landlord and tenant court, taking 18 months, 2 years, and the stress of it, I think this is a very, very important product. So welcome, Erik.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Carol.
So one question, how did SingleKey start?
The SingleKey started with our co-founder, Vilalika. He was looking for an easier way to vet possible tenants doing it on his own, trying not to hire a property manager for his investment properties. And the options to do proper credit checks were very limited, were very hard to read. And so the genesis of the company started with him creating a very easy, quick, and comprehensive, what we call a tenant reporting. And so it takes Equifax, takes this whole scan on possible tenants and into this very easy to read report. Now that then grew on after a few years. It started in 2017. And then they grew to what other pain points are landlords facing? And that became exactly that, the loss of rent, property damage. He basically took the top four tenant delinquencies and said, why can't we create a product that would protect landlords from the top four? And so that's where the rent guarantee started, and it's been flourishing ever since, fortunately and unfortunately. Unfortunately, because the risks to landlords are increasing as the days go on. But that's how it started, and here we are, offering multiple products to help landlords and get remove the risk out of renting, is what we'd like to say.
Well, I love the product and I'm really interested because it's almost like insurance where you have to pay a premium. And hopefully, if those cases don't increase, we're not going to get an increase in cost, that it would be affordable to the average landlord.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't increase with each possible demand or claim like what you would expect an insurance to be. The coverage covers the tenant themselves. So once the tenant is then removed, you re-guarantee another tenant. The risk is then reset. That's why the fee always remains the same, no matter what difficulties you went through in the past.
Now, I understand that your product is available in what areas? We're actually in Toronto, Canada. So I know it's available here. Where else in Canada is it available?
It's available in every province except Quebec. So right now we have a rent guarantee in every province besides probably Yukon and Northwest Territories and Quebec. But other than that, we have rent guarantee coverage throughout the country.
I'm wondering if that's because they have Napoleonic law, which is quite different from the rest of the country.
A little bit. I'm actually from Quebec, and so I bring a lot of interesting tidbits on that. They like to do things a certain way with certain protections and over protections and over regulations. So a lot of businesses tend to use Quebec as an exemption and or maybe a subsidiary to go into that market, but it's a lot easier to cover the rest of Canada.
What about the US? Are you covering there as well?
The US, we're actually expanding into the US, so yeah, that will become available very soon.
And any other parts of the world, or is that for the
No,
future?
it's mainly going to be Canada and US. There are some opportunities abroad, but before we do that, we would like to have our options open on how to do proper vetting in those countries, and it's a completely different scenario and an operational, what I would say, obstacle. And so for now, it would be North American focused, and especially with Canada and the US, and we'll see about expansion further down the line.
So let's say that I'm actually a landlord and I go onto your website. So it's
Yeah.
actually online only, or could I
It's
see the
either or.
land?
The process could start online. It's actually fairly quick to open an account, and it's free, so there's no subscription base or whatnot. So you can open one just to see and test it out. It takes about 5 minutes. We do require a piece of ID that's just for compliance, but you can go on there, create an account, and throughout the journey, if there's problems setting it up, or if it's set up and you want a little bit more help how to manage the website, then it could go into our support channel. We have dedicated a customer success team that helps people either set up or walk through the different products.
Okay, once I have it set up, and let's say that I have a prospective tenant, then
Yeah.
what?
So hopefully you run the report through
Okay.
SingleKey and you have the report generated onto your dashboard where you get to see that. Let's use me, for example. Erik Lapointe is an outstanding candidate. At that moment in time, if you would like to try and see for the rent guarantee, our system will actually give you a prompt that this person would be a good match for it. And if you would like to apply, and that's as simple as clicking yes, apply for the rent guarantee. Now, what that does is that it triggers our team to look over the application, and the system will ask you for a few documents necessary for the approval process, and that's usually pay stubs for the applicant, an ID, proof of employment. So it's really just a couple of documents we need to confirm, but that's it. And then my team takes over from there, and in a few days, we'll give you the go ahead if this person would be accepted or not. You would get the notification on your dashboard within a few days, and that's it. And if there's any questions or back and forth, you have a dedicated BDR that would be there for you to assist you on what documents need to be provided or tweaked or whatnot. So it's a little bit of both. It's a lot of it self-serve. You can go through the entire journey online. But if you do need some assistance or even just a little bit more human touch points, that's also available.
Now, one of the interesting things is that um, we would be asked, the tenant would be asked to support like documents. Now, I just read an interesting article that you had, and I know that EXP also talks about fraud because fraud is a big thing. You know, you got fraudulent pay stubs, fraudulent bank statements, even false passports. How do you ensure that that's the genuine article and not a piece of, fraud?
We actually do quite a good job. I mean, we've seen thousands and thousands of these applications go by. So even me personally, I can tell you I've seen probably hundreds of falsified documents and pay stubs. You do get used to seeing some of the glaring, the determining factors. But in essence, is that our team does a really good job at vetting this. And I'll say that even if it does pass our scrutiny and your scrutiny, and if this is, a pro level fraudulent job, it's not that in the future, if it's been shown to be fraudulent, your claim would be denied. It has gone through multiple touch points. It's just that once we confirm the applicant is accepted, then that's final. And so it's very hard. Our team is used to it, but of course there's some that fall through the cracks or some that are really well done. But we do a good job at confirming the employment of calling the employers, going through the employment reference. So by the time that we approve your possible rent guarantee applicant, you can rest assured that it's pretty darn near close to being approved and completely well done.
Do you use AI in any of the vetting?
No, what we do is we have AI is a general term. We do during our tenant reporting, we do have some coding and some intelligence there that does scan civil and criminal public records, and so that's part of our reporting. But in terms of our everyday AI, we don't use AI, no, as of yet, I'll say.
Okay. It's just that I know that FinTracker is on for actually verifying for ID, and some companies like EXP are using it. So I know that it's up and coming. Now, if you
So
find,
sorry, Carol, to that point, we do verify the ID. We do have
okay,
a program that's specifically for ID. What doesn't exist yet is a program or an intelligence tool that would help determine falsification of, PDFs or pay stubs. That's the
I
trickiest
see.
one. But the ID, yes, is verified by our system, by our partner security firm as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm the landlord and if you find out that it's fraudulent, do you tell me? I'm not sure I would want to I would just not take them on as a tenant. I don't think I would want to get into that issue of, oh, it's been proven to be false. We just
What
sort of,
we tend to do is, no, I mean, it comes into a point of privacy and ethics. At one point is if we find that the documents are falsified, we will just decline the application.
okay,
And we'll probably just say we were unable to confirm certain documents. If they want to provide alternative, absolutely. But at this time, unfortunately, no.
okay. No, that's good to know. I don't think the landlord wants to uh, gets into that space anyways. Now, in terms of for the tenants, we talked about this. It's so hard to get a rental these days. There's high demand, just as it's to buy a home with multiple offers. And you mentioned that can tenants go and get a report and have it prepared for possible landlords?
Absolutely. And they would just have to create an account just like the landlord would and run the report on themselves using the information that obviously they would know. It would generate a PDF onto their dashboard similar to the landlord. And from that moment on, they can use that PDF in their applications or proactively show their financial health and their tenant report to prospective landlords. So it's very easy for either or. It's the same process, same vetting, upload the ID, but definitely a landlord and a tenant can use it for the same purpose.
What is the price point on that?
So the reports generated are $25 per report. And obviously, depending on who's using it, we have partner and preferred partner channels for realtors and property managers, which obviously can offer volume discount with the amount of reports. But generally speaking, it's $25 per report. And what's great about the report is that it doesn't matter who puts in the information. If you, as a landlord, have collected this information about the tenant and you can run the report yourself, then that's great. If you don't have all the information, say a date of birth or SIN, you can actually send an invitation and the link through our dashboard to the tenant so they fill it in. And the security is that so they put in their sensitive information, no one gets to see it. And then once they click submit, you would then still get the report generated. So there's an option here of saying who gets to do the data entry and who wants to maintain control over the sensitive information. Some people aren't willing to share a SIM via email or whatnot, but if it's prompted through a program that will disappear once applied, then maybe.
Yeah, it's funny, it's strange. In my day, we used SIN numbers for ID, believe it or not, for school. So
Yeah,
it's floating around there.
yeah.
So basically for the application, and in terms of, let's say things don't go my way and I'm the landlord and my tenants don't pay, you cover my rent for the next 12 months. How long does that process take?
It's ongoing. So essentially, in order to receive the funds, you just have to follow the proper guidelines limited by the LTB that issue the proper forms and the proper notices. That's all that we require is we need to just see that the landlord is doing the appropriate steps that are outlined. And
Okay.
if that's the case, then every month they would receive their rental payments through us up until the judgment, however long that'll be. Um, but as long as you're following the steps, then that's fine. That's the only requirement, really.
Yeah, it's a difficult space like right now in terms of hearings.
Yeah,
And
and then this is why we're growing quite quickly, and we're there to walk you through it, and we have paralegal partners as well. So it's not new to us. We just want to make sure that everyone's kind of covered for the XYZ reasons for the delays.
let's say I have a tenant and they've been with me for a year. Can I apply for that insurance coverage or is it too late? I should have come on in
No,
the
you
beginning.
you can. Usually we suggest doing it before the lease just to avoid the possibility of them being declined and you already have them in your unit. But if it's someone that's already there, it's the same process. We just require an additional step, which would be proof that they've paid on time for the duration that they were already there. So it's the same thing. We just have to make sure that they're employed, whatnot. But we just have to say, hey, Carol, can you just show me that they paid on time? Were they late? And if everything's good, then that's fine. We can approve them as an existing tenant, no problem.
What about for somebody that's already a tenant there and they have problems? Can I run a credit check through your company?
You can run a credit check no matter what. The problem is compliance and regulation is, do you have the right to run the report on certain person?
I see.
Now that the onus on that is on the user. And this is why we upload the IDs for compliance so that we know who is running reports on whom. But it's up to the landlord. The person has this account to say, I do have the right to run this. And when you run the report, it's allowed. And it is a soft report, so it's not like it hurts anyone's credit as it goes. But we do require at least that you understand your rights and when can you, when can't you run a report, and when you would need additional consent.
I'm just thinking in terms of a example I just heard of an elderly couple that had rented their place to a young man, and then shortly after that, he brought his girlfriend in, and they both stopped paying rent.
Mhm.
And so, in order to find out whether something had changed, would it be worthwhile for the landlord to run that? Not to use it, but just to be curious on where those tenants stand in terms of their credit rating.
Well, we would tend to say no, unless I do say that once the application process and the lease, I think I would confirm this, please, but you do have a time limit of when you're allowed to run these credit checks. I think
I
it may be
see.
60 days in or 90 days to be confirmed which one it is. But past that, you would need additional consent, and we would strongly recommend either get additional consent or find some paralegal advice and saying what are your options there.
That's very good advice. I just wanted to cover the basis.
Absolutely.
And I noted on it that the rent to income ratio basically is not supposed to exceed more than 30%, but on your application, I think it's 43 or 45%.
It's 45%. Yes, that's it. The rent income ratio cannot exceed 45%. So 45% of their revenue to cover the rent, but no more. And that's basically just a threshold, and that's a requirement for our underwriting.
Yeah, so you don't set it at 30, you put it at 40, 45.
It's at 45, yes. So if they pass the ratio, if they are employed, we can confirm the employment and no bankruptcies, then more often than not, they would be a strong candidate for the rent guarantee, regardless of credit score and credit health. We would just need to make sure that they can cover the rent, they're employed, no bankruptcies. That would be sufficient for us.
Now, one of the other interesting questions, I was speaking to other realtors, a lot of them are dealing with professionals coming out of coming into Canada. Canada's got a call and inviting, people to come here and live and to start a new life. And a number of them are professionals. One example was a physician and even had, her medical school confirmed and where she was working at the hospital, yet but could not get a rental. Very, very big hurdles. What kind of advice do you give in that example?
The advice would be to go on our website and go on what's called the Tenant Passport waitlist. That is actually a product that we're launching very, very soon. It's something that's very important to us because it is quite a common situation. And a lot of rentals, because of no credit history, that's the one hiccup, right? Even if they have the employment and everything's all good, but because there's no credit history, because they're coming from abroad, they tend to be declined for various reasons. Now, what we're creating is called the Tenant Passport. And it would be, we're partnering up with some open banking companies. Essentially, we're taking on that risk and being the guarantor. So when they come in and they want to apply for a rent, they would be under our tenant passport and under our guarantee and saying, SingleKey has vetted this person. We understand there's no credit history, but through our means and through our dedicated staff, we can actually vouch that these person would be of low risk. And so that's a product that's coming out very, very soon. So we do have a wait list of realtors and PMs and everyone who wants to use it. So once things get closer to launch, we'll notify everyone. But it's definitely something that's very, very, very much needed right now.
Yes, I just had somebody I was working with, and we were trying to negotiate 6 months rent. paid ahead. I mean, some people were looking for a year, and even that wasn't really, you know,
No,
accepted.
it's not right. I think it crosses a few lines as well. That's why we
Yes.
want to do the tenant passport and saying, skip that. Let us be your guarantor and let us use our credibility for you. So that's something that we really want to get done.
Yeah, it also takes the stress off of the tenant who's trying to get settled into the
Absolutely.
country, employment, all of that without having to feel that they're going to be out of money, 6 months to a year's worth of money. That's a lot.
Exactly. 100%. And with that tenant passport also comes a new guarantee attached to them too, to even eliminate even more risk for these possible tenants. So they would come in, we would be the guarantor, and we would also have a rent guarantee already attached to them. So there's a few different options that we'll be offering to really help with that particular issue right now.
That sounds like an amazing product. I look forward to it because there's a lot of
Absolutely.
people coming
I'm
in.
excited too. It's been the brainchild of ours and a lot of hard work going into it, but I'm hope to see it very, very soon be out there for everyone.
One of the other questions is it just for residential only, or do you cover commercial?
No, it's just for residential. I would say at the moment, but for the foreseeable future, only residential.
And that's in terms of any type, condo, home, whatever. There's no
Well, if
limit.
it has a
Is it
standard, yeah, standard residential lease, that's what it is. But the moment it goes to commercial, it's a completely different industry and set of rules. So yeah, it's residential, condo, townhome, basement unit, you name it.
live workspace?
Live workspace? No, it would have to be specific to living.
Okay. The only reason I'm mentioning that, artists.
Yeah, no, I mean, it depends. It all depends. I would say it depends on the lease. What's
Okay.
on this lease? I would say that. And if the lease is majority residential, then yes.
Okay. In terms of client satisfaction and in terms of feedback and the way you're growing, because it's a much needed product, have
Yeah.
you made any recent changes other than this passport product that you're looking at? Because
No,
obviously,
we're just in a significant part of growth right now, and because, like I said, unfortunately and fortunately for us, the risks are just in increasing, and so for us, the importance right now is growing our team. So as we grow and as our product becomes more popular, we have customer success agents that help and more, so no one falls through the cracks. More dedicated BDRs, so again, we could provide more human help. So right now it's been growing and growing at a same pace so we can offer the same level of service, all the while also putting out some new products like the tenant passport. So that's really been our focus lately. Once we launch the tenant passport, maybe we'll have another call and I'll tell you exactly what's going on after that. But for now, we just need to grow the team properly with respects to giving the customer service that we love giving and launching this tenant passport.
I love the fact that this product has come into play. I think it's much needed. And to have the insight and the courage, I think, for the founder and for the company to go forward with it, because nobody has done it before. And I think somebody had to take the bull by the horns. I know the government wasn't. And maybe this will be actually helping people, because I think small landlords won't get into that space and they don't have the cash flow. And you just take one person and that could decimate you and actually affect one's mental health. So I think this
Absolutely.
is an excellent product to actually put, more oomph out like within the marketplace for the consumer and also for the tenant. Because if you have a tenant that's not paying and staying there, you could actually have a space that's available to somebody who is paying that needs a place to stay.
100%. I feel preaching to the choir. We hear all sorts of stories, and it always keeps us passionate about the product. It keeps us interested because we see that the need for this on a daily basis.
It is. So thank you, Erik, very much. And
Pleasure.
signing off, it's Carol S.L. Mark from eXp Realty. And reach out to SingleKey. They're there to help you and to answer questions. Thank you so much.